So I was just talking about the Vicelords and how they had spread, in some chapters to other states. And we got a case out of Memphis, Tennessee, of a white guy who was a Vicelord. I was mentioning this in the last video too in the comment section, how I would say it's a multiracial gang, although it was originally a black gang. He is accused of turning all the way up, man. 4 bodies. And this was like a family. He spared the baby. But a manhunt, they said, was underway, and it started off this case several months ago. We've just had an update on this case last week. I'm going to get to that in a second after I give you guys the details of the case first, in case you haven't heard about it. There's a guy named Austin Drummond. He was 28. He was a suspect in the deaths of 4 members of a family in Dyer County, Tennessee. Their bodies were found in Lake County. So this is Lake County, Tennessee, not Lake County by Chicagoland area, but records show that he had a lengthy criminal history. He was allegedly a member of the Vicelord street gang, and he was out on bond at the time of the killings, so according to court records. He had spent years in prison for robbing a convenience store as a 16-year-old and threatening to go after the jurors. So I was just talking about those Vicelords that had gone after the one Vicelord that had gone after the judge with a gun supplied by a member of a Phantom motorcycle gang on behalf of a guy who had dual membership in the Vicelords and the Phantom motorcycle gang. But this guy was tried as an adult for the July 2013 robbery in Jackson, Tennessee. During the incident, he pointed a pistol at a gas station store worker and ordered the cash register to be opened, taking the $44 inside. So $44. Okay. At a 2020 hearing in which he was denied parole, he said that he was on Xans the night of the robbery and doesn't remember robbing the gas station. He said the gun was a BB gun. After the jury convicted him of 1 count of aggravated robbery, he made threats to go after the jurors. And he said this during a parole hearing. He pled guilty in February of 2015 to 13 counts of retaliation for past action. The district attorney that covers Madison County urged against early release for him, writing a letter in 2020 that called him a dangerous felony offender and a confirmed member of the Vicelords. He was given a combined 13-year sentence. His sentence ended in September 2024, according to the Tennessee Department of Corrections. So as of the 2020 parole hearing, he had more than 24 disciplinary issues in prison, including possession of a deadly weapon, assault, refusing a drug test, and gang activity. So anybody that's from Memphis can let me know how deep the Vicelords are down there, but I know Chicago gangs are deep down in the Tennessee area, just, because, I mean, it's not a hop, skip, and a jump from Chicago, but it's not super far either, it's, like a day's drive. He said that the assault and the deadly weapons charges occurred before because he was almost beaten to death. So he was charged criminally for activities inside the prison, including attempted murder, and he completed the sentence that put him behind bars. In December, he was reportedly charged with attempted first-degree murder and contraband in a penal facility. Since then, he was arrested on even more charges, including meth, contraband, and unlawful telecommunications devices in a penal facility. So I don't know if this guy's selling meth or if he's on it, or both possibly. But the meth, I posted that video on my old channel. The video's gone now because my old channel is basically gone now, of that guy Benny Ivy, who was a Simon City Royal from Mississippi, who had talked about how meth had completely taken over his life. I don't know if this guy is on. I don't know if this guy's on that or not. But Ivy was saying that that it's obviously real deep now in a lot of the rural communities of America, and basically turns people into just madmen. But anyways, he had served his entire sentence, and there was no probation or parole. Anyways, according to the criminal history, his rap sheet dates back to 2011 when he was just a teenager. He pled guilty to evading arrest and attempted burglary in Jackson, Tennessee. He received 24 hours of community service. So the bodies of James Wilson, 21, Adriana Williams, 20, Courtney Rose, 38, and Braden Williams, 15, were found along Carrington Road in Tiptonville. An infant who was related to the victims was also found safe in front of a house in Dyer County. So the district attorney confirmed that Drummond either was dating or had dated a relative of the victim, Adriana Williams. An Audi connected to Drummond was found in Jackson, Tennessee, where Drummond has deep ties. Okay, now he was eventually booked, okay, and an attorney for this guy Drummond told the judge back in the fall that he plans to request that a jury from outside the county hear the case, which set a swath of rural Tennessee on edge as the man eluded authorities for a week after the shootings. So he eventually was booked, like I said, a week after he had done it. He pled not guilty in his first court appearance since he was indicted on those charges. And prosecutors have said that they plan to seek the death penalty if he's convicted of first-degree murder at trial. So during the brief hearing, his attorney told the circuit court that he intends to file a motion for a change of venue. So those motions can be entered in cases where pretrial publicity is high and lawyers believe that an unbiased jury cannot be selected. So during the week-long manhunt for Drummond, several people were arrested and accused of helping him after the killings. He appeared in court wearing the jail garb. A grand jury indicted him on November 10th, and he's also pled not guilty in a lower court before a judge ruled there was enough evidence for his case to proceed to the grand jury. So he's accused of the deaths of the parents, the grandmother, and uncle of the infant that was found abandoned in a home's front yard. So an intense search had ended on August 5th in Jackson, about 70 miles southeast of the location. The Jackson police chief said that he was staying in a vacant building at the time of his arrest. He was unarmed, but authorities said several guns were recovered. It was unclear if they were used in the killing. So an FBI agent testified at a hearing in September that data collected from a cell phone that was used by him showed that he was in the vicinity of the wooded area where the bodies were found, with gunshot wounds and covered in tarpaulins. So on the day of the shootings, officers responded to a call of an infant in a car seat being dropped off at a random individual's front yard, roughly 40 miles from Tiptonville. Then investigators in neighboring Lake County reported 4 people had been found dead from gunshot wounds in Tiptonville. They were identified as the baby's parents. And so Drummond's girlfriend is Courtney Rose's sister. Okay, so the Dyer County Sheriff told reporters at the time of Drummond's arrest that the baby was safe, healthy, and being well taken care of. In all, 5 people have been charged with being accessories after the fact in the case. So Tiptonville has a population of only about 3,400 people, and it's about 120 miles north of Memphis, near the Mississippi River, and like a big lake. Okay, now this is from just last week. The attorney representing the quadruple murder suspect filed an extraordinary appeal seeking a reversal of his prison transfers for safety reasons, and he was transferred to the Tennessee Department of Corrections with the county jail, citing safety reasons for his move. In the previous court, the Tennessee Criminal Court of Appeals, his appeal was denied, with the court upholding a previous judge's decision to transfer him to a state prison while he awaits trial. So now he and his legal representation are filing an extraordinary appeal and seeking a reversal of the lower court's decisions. So he's currently still in the Tennessee Department of Corrections custody after his transfer from county jail. I don't know, how they get down there, as far as the way they might retaliate against people for stuff that didn't have anything to do with them personally. There's certain infractions like molesting a kid or something like that, where people that didn't even know the victim might kill you in prison. Snitching is definitely one of those. I mean, snitching is not a crime, but you know what I mean? There's certain things that if you did these things, it's like getting locked up in the general population is like death sentence. I don't know if it's like that down there. To be honest, if this guy had done this up here, or up where I used to be in Chicago, for killing a guy, you're not going to get any, you're not going to get any repercussion in prison or in jail. For killing a woman, a grown woman, to be honest, I don't know. That's a tricky one. I don't know if they would do anything to you. If you rape somebody, yeah, that's something that they would probably retaliate against you for. But just killing a woman, I don't know, man. I think it would probably depend on the reason, and depend on the person. But committing this quadruple homicide, whatever the reason was for this, hopefully that'll come out at trial. But they're saying that it's for safety reasons that he has to be transferred. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the Tennessee jail or prison system, so any of you guys who are from Tennessee, you guys can let me know, how exactly they get down and what exactly the rules and the structure is in there. Because honestly, right now in Cook County Jail, it's not really, there's not really like any structure. You know, there's guys in there that have, you know, done some pretty foul stuff, and they're walking around unscratched. Other than snitching, I can't think of too many guys that have actually gotten punished by the inmates recently. Recently, obviously, like back in the day, yeah, there was a lot of that. But so, yeah, this white vice lord, man, he turned up on these four people allegedly and spared the baby. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section, man. It'll be very interesting to see what exactly this was about and if this comes out at trial, man. But as always in my videos, I like to give, you know, cautionary words of advice. And, you know, especially in a small town like that. I've never lived in a small town like that. You know, Chicago is the third largest city in the U.S., and that's all I can really relate to. But, you know, if you know that somebody's like on the loose, who's got beef with you and he knows you're low, people need to take stuff like this seriously. I'm not blaming the victims. Typically, this will be like with women. You know, they'll have a guy who's made these threats against them, that, you know, who's talked about they're seeing all these red flags, and then they'll just get an order of protection, you know, and then they'll stay where he knows they're at. They stay in the same place. I get that, you know, it's inconvenience and it's uncomfortable to be, you know, sleeping at somewhere not in your own bed, but it's inconvenient being dead. You know, like, people need to take the danger seriously. You never want to underestimate people. I'm not saying these people underestimated him, but the location is everything. So you never want to underestimate somebody and what they'll do. You know, I've seen so many times where people just scoff at somebody like, oh, they're not going to do nothing. They're not on nothing. They're not on a crumb. And then they get shot, they get killed by that same person that they just underestimated. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section, man. You know, the devil can get to anybody. You know, if you're Christian, Muslim, Jew, you know what I'm talking about. Like, the devil can get to anybody. So nobody should ever be underestimated. It's your boy Shy News. I'm out.